Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Luis. I'm a third-year medical student from the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, and this is the second installment in my ongoing series, Med School Deep Dive, where I interview different medical students from different medical schools here in the Philippines about their experiences of being a medical student at their respective schools. In this video, I interview my friend Jeff, who's a fellow student at the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. But before I start this video, please make sure to like and subscribe as it really does support the channel. And with that out of the way, let's start the video. Okay, so hey guys, I'm now joined by my friend Jeff. Jeff, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi guys, my name is Jeff Galban. I'm currently a third-year medical student at the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. For undergrad, I took psychology back in UP Diliman. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Jeff, to get things started, why did you decide to attend ASMPH?
Well, to begin with, my brother was already there. He was gonna be an incoming clerk when I was entering first year. Most people pick it because of the MBA, because ASMPH offers a dual degree program, an MD and an MBA in a consolidated 5-year program. But for me, I mostly chose it because I heard the community was very supportive and loving and welcoming. And I felt like, given how difficult medicine really is, might as well go to a school that will really support you all the way.
How would you describe the supportive community? It's given coming from UP, the culture is different there. So how would you describe coming into this Ateneo crowd?
Well, to be fair, the psych department or psych community in UP Diliman was pretty supportive in general. But I think what sets Ateneo apart from at least most medical schools, or my perception of most medical schools, is that it's really one whole family. I think um, this really stems from how small the school is. There's really just like 150 per batch compared to like other schools na 400, 500. But more than that, from first year alone, everybody is inducted already to our so-called Pugad Aguila. So Pugad Aguila is this support system that we imbibe in our students from first year all the way to internship year or fifth year. And then by the time you're an intern or a board taker, you're called an eagle, and everybody just supports the Eagles all throughout the board season. And I think, building that culture from first year to fifth year is really something important and, unique to ASMPH.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that's really what that sense of camaraderie built from day one is what really sets us apart compared to other schools that where they tend to rely on other means of building camaraderie. So, how would you describe your experience of studying in ASMPH? Because our curriculum is different from the traditional model that most medical schools here in the Philippines use.
Yeah, honestly, it's a hit or miss depending on the person, but at least for me, I really appreciate it. So, yeah, like what you said, our curriculum is different compared to most medical schools. We follow a modular system. Um, Modular means we go system by system. For let's say 1 month or from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, we'll take cardio and respi, and then this will be followed by purely neurology. And then for that block alone, we'll cover everything already. So anatomy, histology, pathology, etc. For traditional curriculums, they do it per subject. Like let's say for first semester, um, we'll have anatomy, physiology, etc., etc. But different organ systems, let's say for biochemistry, you're taking GI, but for pathology, you're taking neurology. So that's the big difference. And I think for me, it works because I get to pace myself. I know what to expect, and it's easier to link the ideas and concepts all together in the long run. But it's only difficult in such a way that the board exams are subject based. So one day will be just biochemistry, one day will just be anatomy. So I guess that's the edge of the traditional curriculum. But at least for me, as I go about from normal to abnormal to preclinical to clinical, it's very structured and systematic in terms of concept. So yeah.
And I feel the same way for me also because as at least there's a continuity between our lectures. I was like, oh, okay, it's just stacking on top of one another. Whereas suppose if you're in the traditional, your mindset may be in a different oh, it's physiology time or it's pathology time. So you're not. It's less likely that you will that you'll link those subjects actively, because like you've been already primed to think like, oh, it's this subject now, not really the like other subjects prior or after.
Yeah, and I appreciate it also, even like in practicals, like let's say in first year, we're just taught basic PE, like to assess anthropometrics, etc. But like by second year, when we reach abnormal, we hit the, clinical aspects of physical exam to really determine the best diagnosis for patients. And I think it really compounds over the years. That's why it's easier to appreciate that way.
And I find that interesting in ASMPH's teaching philosophy, in that they really emphasize clinical skills early on, because I've from interviewing other students from other medical schools, they tend to introduce clinical skills in second year. So, and they focus more on the theory in first year. So that's like a interesting difference in philosophy, and like how they want us to learn our skills and also learn the theory at the same time. How would you describe our school's teaching philosophy? Because like, so like, do you feel that we're more lecture based, or do we have an even balance of like non lecture based learning?
I think we're still a little biased to lecture based, but I think that applies for most medical schools. But in terms of balance of components, I think we have more balance also compared to other medical schools. As far as I know, we're the only school that has clinicals as early as first year, besides, let's say, UPCM and I think CIM. I'm not particularly sure. But besides that, our SGDs are really, really regular. And we also have this thing called team-based learning, which personally is one of my favorites. Team-based learning is basically a method of teaching wherein we're given things or a case to work on. And then for the first part, it's called an IRAT, or individual rating, or something to that sort. I forget. Correct me na lang if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that comprises about 50% of your grade. And then that's going to be followed by a group quiz that you'll be taking with, sometimes randomized, sometimes by trans groups, sometimes by LEC groups. And that's another component of the grade. And then after that will be an application based. So that's mostly the recitation, but still by group, and usually on a case again. So again, it's similar to the modular system that it compounds. There's accountability on your part, and then accountability when you contribute to the answer group, and then also the nitty-gritty requirements, but it can still be worked on in the succeeding years.
Yeah, I find that with the TBL model, it's really helpful that there is like that you answer the questions again as a group after, because at least there's like immediate feedback from your group mates, and then you can try to understand why you're right or wrong. I find that's like really helpful about the TBL, because like it really helps you cement your understanding of the topic, instead of just like simply just memorizing the what the answer is. So other than just simply our lectures, can you tell us about any like resources or opportunities that the school gives us to further our learning beyond just being inside the classroom, such as like research opportunities or taking electives abroad?
ASMPH has a Center for Research and Innovation, or a CRE for short, and they offer a number of research assistant slots or positions to students who are interested to explore the field of research. But other opportunities are actually coursed through organizations. Like, let's say, Access AMSA offers research work through the different collaborations they do with other schools, or like, let's say, SurgSoc offers clinical exposures and rotations in hospitals. But yeah, in general, it's mostly coursed out through organizations. And I think that's a room for improvement for ASMPH in general. In terms of electives abroad, if I'm not mistaken, we're only allowed two electives in general. It's up to you where you take it or do it. For doing it international, I only know of like two people who've done it abroad. One in New York and one in California. So it's not really much of a trend in ASMPH. I think that's another room for improvement. Although I feel like the justification of the school is they discourage it because they want people to practice here in the Philippines. But having the option still wouldn't be too bad. And I think a different perspective in terms of health systems and technology would be an added bonus to the learning of an intern.
Yeah, I definitely agree that for one thing, that it has to be more of an initiative on the school, because there are other universities that like give you resources, or like at least give you the network to contact other universities abroad. So if you to give the opportunity, if you really want to do it. So like it'd be of great help like if all medical schools here in the Philippines like gave more opportunities to us medical students to like expand our horizons and like learning new things that aren't necessarily available here.
Well, I think just to be fair to the school, it's a fairly new school. So, getting accredited in other countries is quite difficult. But yeah, I think given that we're more than 10 years, it's high time that we really amp up our collaborations internationally.
Definitely, definitely. Given our recent transition to distance learning with the ongoing pandemic, what are some of the challenges you have faced in this switch, and what are the things you've done to try to at least adapt to these changes?
So, um, it was so abrupt, the change to distance learning, not just for ASMPH, but everybody else. But ASMPH is commendable in the fact that not even a week, but like after a few days, they were able to transition to distance learning immediately, like lecturing through Zoom, etc. For me personally, what the things that were difficult to adapt to were pacing myself, because given that lectures were just dropped in one go instead of having a more structured schedule per week of not just lectures but different requirements, I had more control of my time. For people who like structure in their lives, that's quite difficult to handle at all at once. So at least for me personally, I was struggling for the first few weeks. Besides that, it was also a struggle because you could also feel the challenge accepting the reality that not all professors are, adept with distance learning. Some profs would send slides that barely had content you could learn anything from. But at the same time, some profs sent out lectures with comprehensive content and pre-recorded voiceovers, and that was very, very much appreciated. For some professors, they just sent out handouts and so on and so forth. Basically, it was a wide mix of people who were prepared and unprepared. So for us students, it was merely gauging which ones would work and which ones wouldn't. So at least for me, I didn't go through everything already. I just decided to focus on things that work. So our batch still continued doing trances for these lectures, and for me, it worked to stick to them, given that some lectures were too long. So that was what worked for me in the long run. Yeah, but hopefully this coming semester things would be better because the school required all faculty to go through a program to make sure that everybody's skilled enough to deliver distance learning to everybody.
Yeah, it's like going back to what you said, adapting to the sudden change and like from structured going to unstructured. It's like when you've been a student for what, like if assuming you didn't take a gap year between college and med school, it's like that's like 13 plus years of like, oh, you're not the one deciding your structure, and then suddenly, oh, now you have to decide what you do for all 24 hours of your day. And then I feel that was a big struggle for a lot of people, and I think that's something that we'll probably continue to have to learn to do ourselves as the pandemic continues. But
Yeah. And I think
yes.
besides the academic stuff, the non-academic stuff also factored in. Like sometimes you have a regular schedule for, like, let's say training for basketball or for ultimate or for whatever sport you're playing, or like you have a structured schedule of going to the grocery or whatever, if you condo or stay in an apartment during weekdays and then go home for weekends. Those things just got lost in translation. So
Yeah,
finding your rhythm again was difficult. So hopefully things get better.
definitely. Okay, so having studied now in medical school for more than 2 years, now we're entering our third year. What general advice can you give to medical students, current medical students, and medical students entering their first years in school?
Yeah, I think it's really, really called for every incoming medical student to reflect on their reasons and, inspiration to continue attending medical school, especially now, given how things have changed. But at least for me, I think regardless if it's COVID or not COVID, always reflect on why you want to be a doctor to begin with. You see, many frontliners passing away or struggling, and it's a reality that we have to reflect on if we're really willing to take part on that in case this happens all over again. So I think finding an internal aspect of yourself to draw strength from is something that's really necessary for any medical student. But besides that serious philosophical aspect, it's really all about pacing yourself and taking care of yourself. Because I'm a firm believer that there's more to life than medical school. A lot of medical students tend to make attending medical school their personality, and I'm very much against that. Although studying is very much time consuming, you can make time for doing your hobbies, doing your passions. Like Luis is making a YouTube vlog. People are doing sports, people are dancing, joining competitions, and finding that outlet is really necessary, not to survive but to really thrive in medical school. Because at the end of the day, you can't give what you don't have. So if you're not healthy, if you're not okay physically and mentally, you can't expect yourself to give the best care that you can give to your patient.
Yeah, I feel that really resonates with me because I have a similar philosophy in that what you do outside the classroom will actually help you inside the classroom, because it's stuff outside the classroom that will keep you sane and prevent you from burning out. Because like what good is it being like studying all the time, sacrificing everything else outside the classroom? It will just make you unhappy in the end, and you'll just end up burning out and just like stopping altogether. So like I think the important message here is that find something to do outside of the classroom. Kahit like one thing lang, like with me, just making these YouTube videos or even just doing sports, because that I think will go a long way in your longevity as a medical student.
For sure.
Okay, so how would you describe like the campus culture in ASMPH? Like given we're a relatively small school, so I think we're more close knit than most other student bodies. How would you describe being a student within that population?
So yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier already how the community is generally supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really comes in the sense of upholding this particular principle that we have in school, which is hashtag no Ateneo left behind. So from the very first day that you enter the school until you graduate, and even way past graduation, you'll always hear no Atenean left behind in ASMPH. And basically, it's just translating that for most med schools, they have fraternities, sororities, or orgs in general that they draw strength from to survive medical school. But the principle that the school is trying to drive is that there's no need for any of those organizations to get support from or resources. The school will be there for you for practically just about everything. And given that you really see it resonate with the student body, people are thriving and people are holistic in nature. Holistic in the sense that practically everybody I know in school has something going on besides medical school. And that's something I'm really proud about ASMPH, because they put emphasis on non-medical aspects or non-academic.
Okay, so like speaking of org culture, it's like what are the different orgs available to students like when they become part of the student body?
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, like what I said earlier, ASMPH has, if not the most active, at least one of the most active student life um, among all medical schools. For sports, we've been champions a number of times in the annual Palarong Medicina. We have different sports teams and we participate in almost all events, or actually all events. We offer basketball, ultimate, swimming, tennis, table tennis, you name it. We have the sport and there's a thriving team for it. For non-sports or other organizations, there's performing arts as well. We have the Ateneo Med Dance Group, which is very witty for AMDG, or the school's motto of Ad Maior de Gloriam. And they've been regularly winning the annual Med Group as well. We also have a chorale group called Vox. At least back in history, we'd always win, but we recently just joined the Medrhythmia, or the singing competition, last year again. We also have non-performing arts groups that can contribute in different aspects of medical life. Like, let's say if you're hyperclinical and you're very interested in the field of surgery, I mentioned earlier that the Surgical Society of ASMPH, or SurgSoc, offers tooling missions, medical missions, rotations in hospitals like NKPI, Heart Center, etc. We also have, the Asian Medical Students Association chapter of Ateneo, which is Axis AMSA. So if you're interested with international collaborations, etc., that's also an avenue for you to explore. So that's just two of many, many more other orgs that are available in ASMPH, and I'm sure one way or another, any incoming freshie would be able to find a particular niche that he or she will thrive in.
Yeah, it's like I feel that a diverse set of interests that can be fulfilled with the orgs available in school, and like no matter what they are, I'm pretty sure like even if there isn't an org available, it's so easy to just find a group of like-minded people and just form your own group outside of school.
Definitely, yeah.
Having been a student in ASMPH for more than 2 years now, what is one thing about the school, whether like physical or non-physical, that you really like about it?
I'm pretty sure about 90% of people would answer the same thing, and the answer is the people. Um, the community really thrives because of how welcoming, supporting, and generally loving the community really is of ASMPH. And I think at the end of the day, the goal of the school is to change the culture of the industry in general. People have this conception of the health industry being very cutthroat, very hierarchical, and that's in fact a reality. That's still a reality up to now. And I think these small steps of creating the culture of care as early as the training years of medical education will go a long way. Maybe 10, 20 years from now, when ASMPH graduates have established themselves in the industry more. So I think people might just think of the loving, cutesy, happy-looking community as something small, but it actually transcends a lot of things at the end of the day. And I think it's something that most medical schools should actually check into as well.
Definitely, I feel that with the medical industry, we should promote it more as like collaborative rather than competitive, and that as early as first year, we should see our classmates as our comrades rather than as competition. Because like at the end of the day, we're all just gonna be colleagues and walking shoulder to shoulder in the halls of a hospital. And as a follow up question to that, like what's one thing that you wish the school would add or change, or at least like within your remaining stay as a student in ASMPH?
I think we kind of discussed it earlier already, actually. When I entered medical school, I really wanted to get into research and take on other opportunities beyond the regular academic load. So when I applied for the Center of Research and Innovation, it was still they were still in the drafting process of creating positions. But I think now it's getting more and more formalized. So I think academic extension programs in general would be very much appreciated, not just by me, but most especially by incoming medical students. At the end of the day, no matter how solid the core curriculum of ASMPH is, there's always still going to be room for improvement, room for exploration, room for raising the bar in terms of the opportunities they offer to the students. So I think adding more research positions, improving the public health curriculum and other avenues people can contribute into it. Um, Changing up the MBA program, maybe having internships for it. Those little things, those extension programs, besides the everyday, lectures and lessons, would go a long way. So yeah, hopefully, in the coming years, we see it happening, especially because, probably I won't be the one experiencing it, but at least, for the future batches, they will expect things to happen this way.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that at least in terms of research opportunity, I feel that in the Philippines in general, it's quite lacking for medical students to experience research outside of the research just required by their core curriculum. Because like I feel that that's where we lag behind in compared to the international community, where like in Western countries they can like graduates can have several papers published by the time they're already applying for residency. And I feel that not just our school, but more schools offering these opportunities, it allows us to be more competitive with our international contemporaries.
Yeah. I think that's also particularly one of the reasons why it's difficult for IMGs from the Philippines to get into any residencies abroad. Um, because people really look for the research aspect and other things that would create the picture of a holistic medical student besides the normal academic road. So I think, yeah, I agree with you that it's more of a systemic problem rather than just institutional. So hopefully, not just in school, but let's say even in local residency programs, they start incorporating research as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so before we end this interview, Jeff, is there anything that you'd like to promote, business, social media, etc.?
um, I haven't had the time to start a business I've been thinking of, but at least now I'm currently contributing in the Philippine Medical Students COVID-19 portal. So basically, it's an initiative of um, originally the ASMPH Public Health Council, but now we managed to collaborate with other medical groups such as the Asian Medical Students Association Philippines, as well as the Alliance of Philippine Medical Colleges Student Network. So now it's a nationwide thing of medical students who are contributing to this repository and an analysis of the ongoing COVID-19 response in the Philippines. So I think, especially for incoming medical students, it's a document or 7 modules that they can really learn a lot from as they navigate themselves not just in COVID but in med school in general. So yeah, check it out. Again, it's the Philippine Medical Students COVID-19 portal. It's on Facebook, so it's easily
Yeah.
searchable.
For our viewers who are interested, I'll leave links in the description so you guys can easily check it out. Okay, so that marks the end of our interview. Thank you so much for your time, Jeff, and stay safe out there.
Thank you for inviting me, Luis, and have a great day.
I hope you guys learned a lot about what it's like to be a med student in ASMPH. All relevant information mentioned during the video will be linked in the description, and if you have any questions, please make sure to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.